Okay, folks, good morning. And to you, Nordic, who has not gone to sleep. Hope you're doing okay. Well, that's probably not a good sign, pulling an all-nighter. So, today we're going to go back to where we were left off yesterday, which is the Panzer 4Ds, mostly complete. I gotta remember exactly where I left off. I think we're in the scratches phase. And I may have gotten done with that. And if I don't know, I'm just going to move on because it's probably not that critical. If you can't tell what you were doing, then it probably looks okay. Which means we got to do road wheels and rusty trombones, as we're calling those, the mufflers, and jacks and stuff. Yeah, I think that's what we got to do next. Let's do road wheels. That's the most of a pain in the ass of them. Painting all things black. Cue the music. All right, where is this thing? Oh man, it's at an angle. That's not a good sign. Hopefully, I have a few less interruptions today than I did yesterday. You broke your airbrush last night. Oh man. Hey, it's a perfect time to get a Nawada. I know it's not as easy as just spending $150 on something. That sucks, man. You don't want to break things. You want to say I've had enough, and then you go get one. But what broke on it? Last time I used my airbrush, it took me 30 minutes to get it running again. And it's not the airbrush, it's this shit. And I think I'm probably done with it, airbrushing it. It's like trying to spray house paint through it. So, I think I'm just going to get some AK black paint and just do that. And AK just is so smooth through there. Oh, that's not black. That's the super dark brown. Here we go. Iwata sucks, actually. You looked at replacing the parts that broke and it would be like $30. Broke the nozzle and needle. Well, my Iwata didn't break. The reason I got an Iwata was because they had it at a local store. And I could try it, and if it didn't work for me, I could return it. That's the main reason I got it. And it was a reasonable price. But at least I like the one I have. To an actual compressor. Oh, you didn't have a compressor before? A lot of those things, there's price ranges of stuff all over the place. Like you can get an airbrush for, I mean, not that you'd want to, for $20, and you can get one for $500. You can get a compressor that's like, you know, without a tank for $50, or one with a tank for like just over $100. And then one with like all the bells and whistles is like $400. So like you're getting into it, and you're like, all right, well, what kind of a risk am I willing to take? And by risk, I mean is how much money you're going to throw at it before you, if it creates issues for you, you're not going to be pissed about it. That's what I mean. Because if you're going to throw money at something, it better not cause you any problems. Otherwise, what exactly are you paying for? There's no point in spending money on something and it causes you problems. All right, we need to do a little bit of a pickup here. This is getting out of control over here. Yeah, when I was looking for an airbrush, man, I watched a lot of videos, and there was a couple things I just wasn't going to deal with. I wasn't going to deal with a siphon style airbrush. I wasn't going to deal with one without a tank, which that's not really expensive. And I watched several videos, and they're like, just buy a cheap one with a tank. They don't make that much of a difference. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with mine. It works pretty well. I recommended a friend of mine, this one guy that I know. He's like, hey, tell me everything you know about airbrushing. I said, okay, I'll tell you. And I told him how much money you should spend. And I said, well, how did it go? Oh, I bought some airbrush that cost like 3 times more than the one I recommended. I'm like, oh, good luck. I mean, if you buy something more expensive, it better work better than the cheaper one. It's like, I bought a Ferrari and it's slower than my Corolla. I'm like, then you did something wrong, Excuse my ignorance. Panzer 4Es or Ds you're working on? Well, that's not ignorance, because those two look almost exactly the same. Very good, sir. You passed the test. It could have been a C also, or a D, or a B. No, so it's one side escape door, one big side escape door with the box. So yeah, 4D and 4E, that is both the correct answer. But these happen to be Ds. I don't remember right off the bat what the difference with the E is. I don't have access to an E model, but the Ds, they're the armor fast ones. So, yeah, way to make these puppies shine. That's our goal today. And I did do a little bit of looking into how I want the decals to look, so I've got that resolved. And yeah, let's get on to the road wheels. And things that are of the black denomination. I used to think this was a major pain in the ass to do, but compared to all the 15mm crap I've had to do the last 20 years, it's a pretty piece of cake. And the flow aid helps tremendously. Oh, it'd be nice if I put it in the right place, wouldn't it? It's over here. But the worst part about airbrushing, the absolute worst part, is you need to do it at a time where you can't just say, okay, I got 30 minutes, let me airbrush this quick. Because if you have this goal of getting something done by a certain amount of time, you encounter something that I would not encounter in brush painting, or I encounter something in airbrushing that I would not encounter in brush painting. Like, for instance, it doesn't want to work 100%, and you have to tinker with it. It's not frustrating tinkering. It's frustrating. It's like, okay, I got to get this done in 17 minutes because, something's going to happen. And then you encounter some kind of a problem, and you're not able to get it done in that amount of time, and then you weren't able to do it. That's frustrating. Whereas brush painting, that kind of stuff never happens to me. Not like all of a sudden, oh, my brush doesn't work. But other than that, I think it's been a pretty positive experience. It's kind of weird learning to do something new for the first time when you've been doing something for certainly the last 25 years really successfully and consistently. Probably going to spend about $80 for the compressor kit. I can always upgrade the airbrushes later, but the compressor is pretty good. Wait till Wednesday to get it. So no painting with the Panther till it gets here, which sucks because I was making progress. You broke the nozzle and the needle. What are you using? I thought you had a Neo. Maybe you had another one. Did you have a Badger too? I don't know. I've talked to several people about airbrushes, including you, and I'm getting confused. It's somebody else I knew that had a Badger and they hated it. When I worked at the hobby store, we sold Badgers and Pachets. At least that's what we called them. Pachets. And those were the better one of the two. Or at least the Badger models that we had. This is the early 90s, so I don't know, they may have come a long way. The thing I dislike the most about airbrushing, and the only reason I would replace the airbrush that I have, is that, and probably the biggest surprise I've had airbrushing, I have pretty good fine skill control. I have to. I wouldn't be doing this shit, right? And on the dual action, the distance between nothing is coming out and oh shit, too much is coming out, I swear is like 2 millimeters on the pull. And I wish the pull was longer. I wish it was adjustable to make that pull, I don't know, 3 times longer than it is, or 4 times longer than it is. It is just way too short a throw. It's like you're out there with a pistol that has, you're trying to shoot targets, and the pull weight on the trigger is half a pound. It's just way too small of a throw on it. Had an Iwata Neo, okay, and the compressor is a piece of crap. Well, okay. And that barely gets 15 psi on a good day. The airbrush was also not very good either. Okay, well, I have a different model of Iwata, and I have a compressor that has a tank, so I can't imagine having one of those little, they look like one of those fish tank type things. They look like one of those things you had in a fish tank. It's got no contain, nothing of that. Mr. Glenn, good morning to you. Brushes looking in a kit have a screw on them that can be set to prevent you from pulling too far back on the trigger. Yeah, I want something where I can pull farther back before it engages. And I don't know if I probably make it. It's probably a $500 airbrush. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll deal with what I'm using. So what I end up doing is, and I go, one of my favorite things is this cardboard stuff. And eventually I'll get to the point where I'll do an airbrush video and you guys can make fun of me how basic I am, but I can't be good at everything, for God's sakes. And one of the things that I like to do is, inadvertently, I like to show you what kind of shit I encounter and how I deal with it. Because everybody's going to encounter problems. And the fact that you can power through them and not let them keep you down makes a difference whether you're successful in this hobby or it frustrates you. And trust me, because that's happened to me before. Black compressor is a little bit bigger than my hand. After 10 minutes of spray. That's no good. Yeah, that's no good. When I buy my Iwata, it didn't come with an all-in-one kit, because I I needed something that I can get up to, I don't know, 70. I can get up to 70 psi if I need to, and I do that to have to blow this shit through it, or to clean the freaking airbrush from using this stuff. But I don't think I'm gonna airbrush that anymore, and that's fine. It's just way too goopy. I have to fight with it too much. Yes, I can get it to work, but the other thing I can do is just, and I should probably test this. This probably would work okay. The problem with hand painting this is only, there's only one problem with hand painting this. Sometimes if you hand paint it on like a smooth surface, there's not enough of the surface for it to grab. So you end up like moving the same paint back and forth. So imagine if you try to paint something that's, it's a little too slippery, and you end up, there's not enough grip on this. So if I just took like a paint that's awesome, like AK, and sprayed like white very lightly, and then come back and hand paint this, that would probably work. I should try that on something small. In theory, that looks like it should work. I said, I'm not an expert, but I've been around a block a few times. So, and I'm also not going to give up. Airbrush doesn't work, screw you, I'm still getting this painted today kind of thing. You missed hurricane-like rain earlier when a severe thunderstorm ripped through. Today is going to be a major storm. Well, hopefully you don't lose connection. I've used their airbrush thinner. It doesn't seem to work. Actually, you're not supposed to use their airbrush thinner with this stuff. That's what I've read. You're not supposed to use airbrush thinner. I'm like, it's not working without it. So I tried it without it. Still doesn't work. It'll work a little better, but Zvezda kits are like that when hand priming. Yeah. Yeah, if it's painting related, I got this. I've been painting way too long that I'm not going to let this discourage me. It's just, don't expect something to take, don't have any expectations. Don't be like, okay, I should be done with this in 30 minutes. It's like when you travel to Historicon. When you travel to Historicon from here, it's a 14-hour drive, okay? It's going to be a 14-hour drive. You leave at the ass crack of dawn. You get there when you're supposed to. It's not a problem. When you go to Miami and there's a traffic accident on the way, you expect it to be a 6-hour drive. And if it turns into a 9-hour drive, it's the end of the world because it's not what you expected. So, it's all about expectations. I had to grab some supplies yesterday morning at the Home Depot. Speaking of expectations. So I have to go pick up some mulch. Go pick up some mulch. All right, so I go pick up some mulch in Home Depot. Go to the outside area, the side entrance they have, where they have the mulch and all the garden things and all those things. So I go in there, and I don't want to grab one of those heavy carts, right? It's just basically like a slab with wheels, and it kind of teeter-totters, and it's kind of a pain in the ass to move around. I want to find out where I'm going, so I'm not trying to cart this thing all over and being everybody's way, right? I can already see where this is going. So I go and find out where the mulch is, and this dumbass, we'll call him a dumbass, I don't know what his name is, but he's a dumbass, has Home Depot, Sam's, I'm sure other stores do this. When they're stocking things, there's so many freaking lawyers that are around anymore. If you're an attorney, I'm sorry, but this shit happens and it pisses me off. Anytime my freedom gets compromised, I have a problem with it. Have this accordion thing where they block off the entire aisle, where no one can come in, like it's by penalty of death. because you're working on something. It's in one tiny part of the aisle. The entire aisle is blocked. You know, like they're overcompensating for something. And in the busiest time of the busiest morning, they have this entire aisle blocked, and the guy has zero motivation to get it done quickly, and like leaves. And everybody's like trying to get to the stuff in this aisle. Now, fortunately, the item that I wanted was right there, so I just went over it and picked it up. It just happened to be right there. I didn't have to wait on somebody. But it's like, why would you restock? Why would you rearrange a bunch of shit at the busiest time on the busiest morning? You know, because Saturday morning at Home Depot, I don't know that there's a busier time than that. You know, everybody wants to get shit done before you get baked to a crisp in the Florida sun. But again, expectations. Oh, I expect it to go smooth. I'm shaking my head. I'm looking at the other people. We don't even have to say anything to each other. Like, why would this happen now? Now I can add another thing to my expectations. When you buy a Pegasus kit, it could be a massive piece of shit. Tony, had your airbrush decided not to break? Had my decided not to break, I was going to buy an Allied tank to build. Take a guess what it is. I give you a hint. It's a British tank. Oh, well, that could be all over the place. I don't know. Firefly? Crusader? Matilda. Just for record, I will buy the kit next month. Damn airbrush. Yeah. Well, I hate to sound like an optimist, but that gives you something to look forward to. I'm going to go with Matilda. That's the one I like to talk about and complain that there isn't one. There is one available. I can get it. I just don't want to pay $25 for one. Yeah. Gotta love me some Matildas. But you know, there's a lot of tanks that I like. You were here yesterday when I was talking about British tanks. I said somebody was mentioning about doing British tanks. I know who it was. Painting Panzers. He came on here for a little bit. And he said that he likes British tanks. I do too, but I don't like putting a freaking white star on them. Especially when the British have a cool symbol called, you know, like a roundel. Well, I've looked at decals for them in Italy, and they used a roundel in Italy. So, all the more reason to do stuff in Italy. Not putting a white star on my British stuff. It just looks wrong. It looks like I don't know what I'm doing, you know? It's the rye field. Oh, so I got it on the first guess. Excellent. Oh, not getting a 1C, huh? The 1C looks weird. The 1C looks weird with the haphazard thing that they did to the front plate. You know what I'm talking about. Like, shit, we got to do something about this. All right, just weld some things in it. Roll. Just weld some things on there and let it go. Oh, boy. How are we going to see this? Okay, we can look at it from this angle a little bit better. Most of this is going to get covered anyways. But I like the idea that I did something about this, not just like, I don't even paint the road. Really? Luckily, it's just a paintbrush, but where'd you go? All right, get everything away from the right-hand side of my body. Mr. Extremely right-handed person. I haven't seen too much documentation of firefly use in Italy. There's a lot of British tanks I don't like, though. Now that I think of it, probably more than any other major nation. And that just means I don't aesthetically like them. As markings for Guards Armor Division in Holland 44, which I will use those markings. Also thinking of getting some American paratroopers to go with it for a vignette. Yeah, I don't like U.S. paratroopers. I don't mean to offend any veterans. It's overdone. And they don't have any intrinsic armor support. They have to rely on other folks to give them some armor. I like the option of being able to have both of them together. Somehow, there's a little bit of the base color still showing through here. There we go. Let's water that down a little bit. Not water it down, but this flow aid, and you're supposed to mix it. If you look at the instructions for flow aid, mix 1 part flow aid to 20 parts water. Fuck that. I ain't got time for that shit. I use 1 drop. And just use, it's like, I'm probably never going to finish using this stuff. It's the one product they don't want you to use more of. It works great for me the way I'm using it. I use it kind of re-wetting drops, so to speak. All right, now let's do the ends. Mr. Patriot, welcome. You found a left-handed airbrush. Are you left-handed? It only works by bending your hand at right angles and turning your head 90 degrees. Us lefties are weird. I'm surprised they allowed you to grow up to be a left-handed person. I'm just saying of your age. I mean, it was like, I don't remember, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, that's just how you're programmed or whatever. Yeah, a left-handed paintbrush. My boss, the owner of the company, is left-handed. My supervisor is left-handed, I think. Yeah. So I have quite a few of them around me, but I am extremely right-hand dominant. Except driving. When I drive one-handed, I use my left hand because I'm shifting with the other one. What else? If I have to ride a bike with one hand, it's the left one. Watch always goes on the left hand. What else? I hold my tanks with my... Is your Hobby Lobby discontinuing some oil paints? I don't know. Your local one dropped their $5 oil paints down to... Oh. Well, I don't want to get into oil paints. I know where you're going with it, why you're getting them. I don't want to get into that. However, if they're tube paints, if their acrylic tube paints drop, I'll probably pick some of those up. I don't know why. I had this idea that I want to paint stuff, you know. They tried in Texas in the 70s. Just joking. I turn, twist my arm, wrist to write or paint. Yeah, whatever works for you. Whatever you're doing now, that's what you got to do it because you've practiced doing it. Right or wrong, that's how you do it. I identify as a right-handed person and am. There we go. This flow aid stuff's amazing. All it is a surface tension lubricationary friend. We could say about alcohol. What's alcohol for? It releases the surface tension. I had to pick up the garage yesterday, and I was helping the wife, and we're both doing it together. And I'm like, I don't feel like doing this, so I had a couple drinks, and it made the world a better place. I don't drink very often, which is a shame because I become a much better person when I drink. And, we're just talking about having a little buzz. We're not talking about, being an ass clown. There's some things I don't like to compromise on. One of them is like jacks or shovels or anything like that. I'm going to paint them the color that they are. I'm not going to like, well, they just sprayed this at the factory, because it just looks like you were a lazy fucker and didn't want to paint it. And some of these things can use a pop of color on different things. So anything that happens to be metallic or anything like that. The shovel. I don't want shovels that are painted all green. Oh, they put it on the side of the Russian tank. Oh, just spray the whole bastard. No, I want to pick them out because it looks better. You sit straight just like the wall. Pink Floyd, how can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? Can you appreciate Pink Floyd and if you've never done drugs? That's a legitimate question. I know several people that were really into Pink Floyd. I've just never done the drugs. I just can't appreciate it. Mission statement. I don't turn or twist. I figured 2 Kriegsmarine ships to build and paint will need the grays for cold variation weathering and also pin washes. So here's a question: when you build, if you decide to build a couple Royal Navy ships, which ones would you do? Where's my paper towels? Oh, they disappeared. Oh, I just used a rag. Oh, I don't want to be one of those people. I guess I've turned into one of those people. Paper towels. We're doing some home improvement kind of stuff, and it's somewhere else. It's somewhere it shouldn't be. My paper towel roll. Never got Pink Floyd yourself? Yeah, it's just too. There's some music that just I don't get. It doesn't resonate with me because it's either too chaotic or it's too slow or it's both. Like we went to go see the last cruise we went on. Last cruise? Yeah, the last cruise we went on had a Beatles impersonator band, which was awesome. And I've never had any Beatles albums. I'm too young. And, I know most of their stuff, even though I wouldn't be able to name a lot of it. And so I listened to a fair amount of it just so I could be familiar with it. And I like a good portion of their stuff until they got into those drugs that just went all over the place. And it's like, I don't like that stuff, you know. It's a little too chaotic, but music is very personal, and maybe it reminds people of certain things, but I don't like chaos. HMS Hood, HMS Prince of Wales, HMS Repulse. Repulse is a freaking gorgeous ship, in my opinion. I don't like the Prince of Wales class ships. Maybe I just played naval war games too much and know that they have a weak point in the conning tower armor, and I'm really scary. They have some incredible belt armor, though. Incredible, like 15 inches or something like that. The school scene, yes. The movie's about the loss of Pink's father. Oh, I haven't seen a movie. Pink's father in World War II, and they met his dad and loss of humanity. War destroys innocence. Absolutely. Should see a pattern with your shipping choices. Yes. Hunting Bismarck. The Beatles were the greatest band of all time. Name a song by them you don't like. Somebody put this out there. Somebody on Facebook. I think it was somebody on Facebook. I don't know. I saw it in the last 6 months. And they say, name a perfect album. I don't know that I can. Every band has something you don't like. And here's the really interesting thing about it. This is what got me thinking. Do the band members, when they put out an album, like every one of their songs, are like, let's just throw this on there because we need a ninth song or something like that? The pattern is all the ships I want to build were sunk during the war. Well, that's just mean. Yellow Submarine's a little too childish, huh? Yeah, I like most of their stuff. I don't know that they're the greatest band. I don't know. I don't know that I could pick the greatest band, especially since as you change, you don't have a favorite band. Or what your favorite band is changes. Led Zeppelin 4 is a perfect album. All right. So what songs are on that one? Let me look that up. Time to piss people off. I don't really like Led Zeppelin. That doesn't mean they're not talented. It's just not my shtick. There's only like 2 songs by them that I even like. It's just too all over the place. For my taste. Let's see here. Let's see what's on Led Zeppelin 4. See if my favorite Led Zeppelin song's on there. Why is it my favorite Led Zeppelin song? Because it's the most non-Led Zeppelin sounding song. All right, let's see here. Rock and Roll. Rock and Roll is my favorite Led Zeppelin song. Because it freaking goes somewhere. And the funny thing is I was listening to Led Zeppelin. I was like, I got Apple Music, which is funny. I'm going to say this because I don't know anybody else who has Apple Music. And everybody has an Apple phone shoved up their ass. Everybody in the entire world has an Apple phone, seems like, other than me. But I have encountered no one who has Apple Music. I don't know why. So, anyways, we have Apple Music and we share it amongst the family. So sometimes I'm like, let me listen to some Beatles or whatever. It's something I wouldn't normally listen to. And, like I'm like, all right, let's listen to I think it was on the way to work or something like that. My daughter asked about Led Zeppelin or something. And I'm like, yeah, let's play the top hits. And I'm like, I knew like the first 16 songs or something like that. I didn't know what the hell they were called. Like I know when the levee breaks. I just didn't know that the song was called that. Because when they played it on the radio on the rock station, they don't tell you what the name of the freaking song is. And since I don't own the album, how am I supposed to know what it is? Yeah. Stairway to Heaven's a great song once it gets cranking. 2/3 of the way through. It's just a little too, I don't know. A lot of their music's a little too much sitting in a field eating dandelions for me. You have a Samsung phone? Yes, Samsung tribe. Yeah. And I'm not changing because they do everything I want them to do, and I don't have to relearn how to do something. That's not something I don't like keeping up with technology because those fuckers that want you to buy the latest and the greatest keep coming up with crap just to keep you, keep themselves in business. The problem with my Samsung phone, what is it, an S20 Ultra 5G or something like that. I got it when it first came out, and it has the most RAM of any of them, and they haven't improved on that. So if this thing were to break, I hope it doesn't. And I would just want to find the same one again because the 21 and the 22 don't improve that RAM situation. And I need RAM for processing videos. So. Which one do you have? Queen is very similar to Led Zeppelin in that I think Led Zeppelin can do a lot of different songs and a lot of different song styles, which I think that speaks, and I brought this up before, I think that speaks really strongly of their talent. I personally don't like it because I don't like all kinds of different song styles. And Queen does the same thing. Queen can go all over the place. Although I like more than one or two Queen songs. I like the Fat Bottom Girl song. That should be, if there's ever another war that the South is involved in, that should be like the anthem for the freaking South. That's what I visualize. I don't visualize bikers. I just think it's just like a bunch of rednecks just pouring out of a bar with shotguns. It just seems like, that's a freaking great sounding song. Evelyn says, Stairway to Heaven, Jimmy Page always does an epic solo at that point. No. So don't care for Queen. Nope. 184 million sales by albums alone speaks a lot. I have a Galaxy S7 that I've had for like 4 years. No damage to the phone at all either. Yeah, no need to replace it if you don't need to. I had a Note 2 for a long time, and what happened to it? The camera, I got a crack in the lens, so I had to replace that with an S8 Plus, and the S8 Plus was fine until, I had the Note for like freaking 4 years. I had the S8 for like 3 or 4 years, and then the cord that was plugged into it got hot, and the plastic around the end of it melted into the port that charges the phone, so now I can't charge the phone. But I don't really have a problem with it because I used it for, a fair amount of time. I didn't want to replace it, and I'm sure that's probably what will happen with this phone. It's got to quit on me before I quit on it. Oh, I know what it was. Somebody was saying is whose debut album was the best. What's the best debut album? What's the first album somebody put out? And I'm like, that ought to be easy, and it's not. When you look through it, you're like, oh, no, that's not. Well, that wasn't the first album. That wasn't the first album. That wasn't the first album. But music is extremely subjective, even more than art. There's just some things I don't like. I naturally gravitate to a bass line. If the song doesn't have good bass guitar, I'm not interested. That's literally like what I hear. I'm not saying nothing else isn't important. I'm just saying that if it doesn't have that, I'm just count me out. I'm out. Yeah, see, I never cared for Metallica. I never cared for Metallica. I don't like his vocals, and he's a guitar man short. Speaking of a guitar man short, not that I'm a huge fan like I used to be back in the day, but I went to go see in October. I went to go see Maiden, and everybody came back, and they had a replacement guitarist. So now they had three guitar. Yeah, three guitarists is better than one. I've never been a fan of Metallica. I couldn't even tell you one song by Metallica that I could even moderately stand, but that's okay. I'm to the point where I don't. I actually prefer music that doesn't have vocals, because then the song can be about whatever you want the song to be about. I don't understand what anybody's saying half the time, so um, you know. But that's just me. When you're like, man, this is my favorite band, and you go like, I don't even like a single thing that I've ever heard them play, and it's like it's obvious that different music resonates differently with people. Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory is the best debut album. Aren't they like rappy? I did. I listened to it, and I wasn't that impressed. I wasn't that impressed because it didn't. Not that it sucked, but I was expecting it to be not like played by instruments of the period. That seemed like something they could have pulled off. Um, I said SPQR. I'm like, oh, this is going to be like the Rome Total War soundtrack. Nope. Rolling Stones second to Beatles. Chicago Transit Authority's pretty good first album. Nirvana. I'm not a grunge fan. As soon as I turned 18, the grunge thing hit, and I'm like, fuck. I'm a hair metal guy. I am. I don't like everything hair metal, but that's like. I mean, I never had long hair, never had any piercings, no tattoos. I just like that kind of stuff, you know. Um, I would say of the songs that I listen to, that of the music that I listen to that you guys would recognize, because there's some stuff that's may not be as recognizable as a first album. I would have to say Van Halen one is my number one debut album, and I got real mixed feelings on David Lee Roth. I would hate to be anywhere near that guy. That guy's just got to be like a major dickhead. Now he was successful, obviously, in what he did, and he worked for some. But there's no way. Just imagine if he's like part of your game group. You got some guy you're playing with that's like David Lee Roth. What a pain in the ass that guy is. Sort of a hybrid rap song. Yeah, not. I don't like the talking. Dokken. I do. Some of their stuff is really good. Yeah. They got that one album that has that freaking eagle on the cover of it. Whatever. That's I like eagle shit. Sorry, I don't mean I like stuff with freaking eagles like that. I like things with spread eagles on them. What? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I like. I like the harmonies of the I like the long guitar back and forth type of things and okay, I think this is enough tinkering with this one. We can go move to the other one. It's not rap as in the rap you think. It's tolerable kind of rap. I don't know. Michael Jackson's Thriller #1. You know the funny thing is I was never a Michael Jackson fan. I didn't find out until like 2 years ago that that's so is it Thriller that has the solo by Eddie Van Halen? I didn't know it was him. Well, he didn't take credit for it. How the hell am I supposed to know? Eagles Best of Second in Sales by album. AC/DC Black and Back in Black is third. Is it? AC/DC songs all sound the same. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I like several of them. Many of them sound the same. Let's put it that. That's probably most people. Most of the stuff sounds, the same. And that's okay because there's a reason why you like them. And maybe it's the sound that they give you. Eagles actually have a few of their songs on my that's on my play. A lot of them are too country. I'm not a country fan. They're a little too like they don't take you anywhere. But some of them are okay. I remember this older guy I used to know. He said this wise thing I've never forgotten, and that is most people like the music that was playing when they were going through puberty. And in my case, that's accurate. It might be accurate for everybody, but in my case, early to mid 1980s. That's where it would be. That's what I gravitate. Yeah. The interesting thing about ACDC though is that I don't have a preference between the Bon Scott and oh shit, Brian Johnson, and that's kind of a nice thing, to have some kind of big replacement and like, oh man, they're doomed, and like, oh, no, they're okay, you know. I think the same thing happened with, in my opinion, with Van Halen. There's some that I like of both people, and there's some that I dislike from both folks. I finally performed scalpel surgery on the maps for 3 days of Gettysburg and set them up. Now they line up perfectly. The Who. That's another one I need to listen through all their stuff. Some of their stuff I like. Had a coworker, an older coworker that was that was his favorite band. Hey, different things do things for different folks. But I never felt the need to emulate any of these musicians. You know, I may like some of their music, but I don't emulate their lifestyle or attire. I just, you know, artists are weird. They're talented, but they're weird. I don't need to be like any of them. All right, let me go grab a. Let's rinse this for good measure. Let me go grab a refill because I'm out of everything. Anyone like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers? Hey, that's from my hometown. Only a couple of their songs. They were playing one of them. I remember them playing the music video many, many years ago. This is like 30 years ago. 30 years ago? 30 years ago. Yeah, something like that. They were playing, I was at a party, or as a gathering, really, and they were playing music videos back when they had those things on TV. And it was a Tom Petty song, and there was a house fire at the same time. Well, not really a house fire. Somebody had left the salad dressing bottle on top of the range and I had to put out a fire. Let's put it that way. That's all I remember. But just like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. There's a whole lot of music I would not want to listen to. A lot more than music I would like to listen to. And I mentioned this yesterday. I'm pretty good about food. You know, as long as you're not feeding me something weird or animal parts you shouldn't be eating. I'm pretty good about food. I'm not good about art. There's lots of artists, like painters, that I wouldn't want their stuff if it was given to me free. And there's a lot of music I don't really care for. And I don't know, maybe that's everybody. That doesn't mean that I don't appreciate how it's done. With musicians, with artists, there's definitely some things like, no, I could be like, on drugs and flinging poo, and that's what you did there. But musical instruments are freaking hard. Or I'm not programmed to do that kind of shit. Now we'll be in the car and we'll listen to music a whole lot as a family unless we're traveling. It's usually my daughter playing DJ, and I'm like, I wouldn't listen. I would have turned that thing off like 2 seconds ago. Almost like it's a radio commercial. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't work for me. Vivaldi's Violin Concerto. That sounds like something my dad would listen to. And then I'm going to pass out for a few hours. Okay. I'm glad I was able to rock you to sleep. See you on the flip side. This reminds me to go ahead and paint this machine gun. And I still need to put the whole machine gun on these, but that can be done afterwards. Probably just going to use sprue for that. I'm looking forward to seeing how cool these can look, considering this is such a basic model. But I think it had a lot of potential. I don't really care for classical music to listen to it unless you're going to do like a modern take on it. Like, who are those Russian bastards? Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Unless you're going to do some kind of a modern spin with, include some modern instruments that add a little bit more depth. I'm not really that. It doesn't speak to me. I spent many years with my dad listening to that stuff. I'm like, why are you listening to that stuff? It's putting you to sleep. Oh, he liked it. And then we'll go to the tracks next. And what's after tracks? Decals. Or the clear coat on the spots that the decals are going to go on. My clear coat's still down here, right? Yeah. Yeah, so I have to clear coat the entire model just to put turret numbers on something. We'll clear coat it when it's done. You know, when I dry brush all this, not all of this won't even be able to be seen, but in case it does, just like if I go over the edge a little bit, I'm not worried about it because that definitely will be covered up. And if not, I can fix it then later, but I feel like it makes a little bit of a difference. It's not hard to do, just the lip on this one is very, very small. Okay, let's flip to the other side. So, Patriot, what do you think about that Napoleon trailer? I know you're a Napoleonics guy. I don't get excited about movies anymore. They'll always manage to fuck it up one way or another. And I don't think he's the right cast for that. He just doesn't look like the guy. And I'm sorry, that's an important part, you know? I mean, I think he's a good actor. I just don't think that he just doesn't even remotely look like Napoleon. And I just don't trust Hollywood to do proper take on any historical character. I hope it results in a resurgence of naps in U.S. Ridley Scott has done some amazing work. He has. I didn't really like Kingdom of Heaven because of the subject matter that he chose and how he portrayed some of this stuff, but I think Gladiator was pretty good. Although it was fictitious, but I knew that going in. Actually, I think Gladiator is really solid. And one of the things that makes Gladiator solid is it's a revenge movie, which is my favorite kind of movies, are revenge movies. And you really root for the guy that's doing the payback. And sometimes they either cast somebody who doesn't work for me, and or I don't care about, but I liked the Australian dude as the main guy. I think that was actually the only thing I've liked him in, and I think that's what sold it for me. That, and it was a revenge movie. But just don't learn your history from that. Once again, can't remember actors' names. Well, they're not a big part of my life. Did he do Alien? Oh, I liked Alien. Alien's a pretty solid movie even to this day. Other than the scene where she's in the command thing trying to call home. There's like all these little things flashing like it was a freaking original Star Trek. Other than that, I think the original Alien's a pretty good movie. Black Hawk Down, I've seen it once. I don't want to see it again. Um, just always say, why are you changing the history when you do it? You're gonna do a movie about the Crusades. Do the first Crusade. The first Crusade's insane. You don't have to change anything. Just play it as it is. But the problem is that, we as people that are interested in history, we don't need a life lesson from the movie. We just want to listen to the movie as for what it is, the interesting story and how how things. It's just an interesting storyline. We don't need like a life lesson. So, when they do stuff like, when Hollywood does stuff like that, there's got to be like they have an agenda or they want to push something or they want to, portray, something in a different way. And, yeah, it's just kind of looking at it from two totally different things. I don't need a life lesson from one thing. I don't need a life lesson from somebody in Hollyweird. You know. DEI is ruining Hollywood. I don't know what DEI is. But all those historical things is like there has to be like a lesson behind it. No, it's not, because there's so many stories in history. It's not like, oh, okay, well, this is what history is all about. No, it's not. You can't take like one thing and that spells out what the Crusades are. I mean, every crusade was different, and they're all warped in their own way. But what I hated about Kingdom of Heaven, the worst part about Kingdom of Heaven was when he gets on that shipwreck and he survives the shipwreck and there's one horse. Like, what do you think I am? 6 fucking years old? Why couldn't there be no horses or 3 or even 2? No, there's one person and one horse. Like, I got so mad when I saw that. I'm like, I'm tired of these cliches. I'm not 6 fucking years old. Those cliches just drive me bananas. Okay, I think we're done with the wheels there. Let's get the tracks. This is SS Camo Black, or how it's called now is German Camouflage Black Brown. Diversity, equality, inclusion. Oh, I'll just watch old movies. I don't mind putting, diverse people in it if the movie is subject matter works with that. But just including people in and things just because they need to have a right proportion. I don't know when it started, but everybody loves Rogue One. And Rogue One bothered the hell out of me when I was watching in the movie theater, because it's like, okay, we got one black guy, we got one Asian guy that happens to be blind, we got a woman, we got a Hispanic guy. It's like, why couldn't there be like 3 black guys or like several Asian people? It was like, we got to have all the food groups, and it just seemed too forced. It seemed unnatural. I'm all for including other people, but just like, we got to make everybody happy, like. We got to have everybody of all the food groups. Like, I'm sorry, You know, if you're going to redo Blood Diamond, which is one of my favorite movies, if you're going to redo Blood Diamond, you don't need to put Chinese people in Blood Diamond, okay? It's in freaking South Africa. There's not that many Chinese people in that type of thing. There probably are because, you know, everywhere. But I'm just saying, you know, it needs to be appropriate to the subject matter that you're doing. Don't be all kiss assish just to, you know, try to appease everybody. This color works really well for me to replicate old rust as the base color. Now, technically, the color of this track shouldn't be the same as the track that's on the vehicle because this hasn't been driven on. But yeah, I don't distinguish between the two. That's a detail too far. This works for me. Your mileage may vary. But my daughter wanted to see, said, Dad, I want you to see Oppenheimer with me. And I'm like, I don't want to go to the movie theaters. First of all, I'm not interested in nuclear anything. One of the worst inventions ever. Probably the worst invention ever. Nuclear weapons. I didn't say we shouldn't have any, we should get rid of them. I'm like, they should just never have been invented. A horrible freaking idea. Let's do the tracks on both of these, and then we'll come back and do the bottom tracks on them. I don't want to see things in a movie theater. I'm going to be disappointed. It's going to cost a lot of money. I'm going to want to pee. We're going to share a drink. I'm only drink part of a drink, and I'm still going to have to pee. And then I'm going to, crap, do I miss the part of the movie? No, we'll watch something else. And I'm like, there's so many more watching options than there are now. I'm like, just wait for it to come on TV. Wait for it to come on a streaming service or something or another. Am I going to be able to paint this and still hold on to it, or do I need to put this on something? I think I'm crafty enough to be able to work my way around it. And what I can't watch anymore is the kind of movies I used to like to watch. I used to like to watch stuff like not movies and shows and stuff like 24 and Homeland, that kind of stuff. I can't watch that stuff anymore. Mitch was telling me about, oh, you got to see the thing with Chris Pratt, whatever that's called, where it has people in government. I can't see government conspiracy stuff anymore. I just get really irate that anything like that could possibly be going on in Western governments. Just I find it intolerable. And I don't have anybody in my family that's ever been in the military. I was probably came the closest. And yeah, I no, I just I'm a I'm gonna put me in a really bad mood. Terminal list, that's what it is. I can't watch stuff like that anymore. How's that saying go? That reality is stranger than fiction. Okay, I think we should be good there. Let's get this. What we're going to do is we're going to paint this side, then we'll flip over to the other one and paint the other side. And then by the time I'm done with that one, I should be able to grab this one freely and the paint not come off. It's not a big deal. I just don't want to have to touch things up if I don't have to. I really don't have a habit of doing that anyways. Fortune 500 companies. Yeah, I don't understand why they got to feel like they got to be activist. Like, go, what's your job? Go out and make money. That's it. But I think they could be activists and get involved in shit that's not none of their damn business. Tell us how to live our lives. Just shut your hole and make entertainment or whatever it is the hell you make. Go make toasters. Shut the hell up and go make toasters. If I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you. Okay, I think we're pretty safe. Setting this thing off to its side. Setting off this to the side and get this one over here. Yeah, and these companies think that everything's for sale. And I'm sorry, in my America or in my world, you can't buy anything you want. There's some things you shouldn't be able to sell. Your honor is one of them. You know? Maybe they don't have any. Not everything's for sale. Just like I tell people, hey, I want to buy your figures. Sorry, they're not for sale. What do you mean they're not for sale? I said, they're not for sale. I don't want to sell my miniatures. I don't give a shit what you give me. They're not for sale. Some people can't understand that. You know, these huge companies and they can buy anything they want. Well, unfortunately, there's people with like zero morals that'll sell it to them, but there's some things that shouldn't be for sale. Mr. Studio, welcome. Working on the tracks of the Panzer 4D. And when we're done with this, we could do the decal part. Which I really like because it's one of those things that kind of brings it to life. What are we chatting about today? Oh, everything. Everything, as usual. Did you say you liked that Napoleon trailer? I know you're a Napoleonics guy. How many different people played Napoleon? I guess I should watch Waterloo again. I've only seen it one time. You only see Waterloo one time? Yeah, well, I'm not a Napoleonics person. And they never played it. Mr. Carroll, welcome. They never played Waterloo on television when I was a kid. They never did. Well, I didn't have cable, so we watched whatever was on. So unless they played it on, I guess it would have been TBS, which they didn't, or they didn't play it during the time I was aware of it. You haven't seen it? That Phoenix guy looks great. You think so? I think he's a good actor. I think he can pull a role. I just don't think he looks like Napoleon at all. He's distracting. It's like, what's he doing here? It's distracting from the story. I don't know. I'm sure at some point I'll probably watch it. I'm not going to pay to watch it, but I'm not going to pay to watch just about any movie. Yeah, everybody likes Rod Steiger. You think he was the best one? I have to watch it again. I think it was. Well, I don't want to say because I've only seen it one time and it was probably 20 years ago, maybe even longer. I don't know much about Napoleon. Well, compared to somebody on the street, I know everything about Napoleon, but I'm just talking about, from a war gamer. As a war gamer, I don't know a lot about Napoleon. I know about his campaigns but I mean like his psyche and stuff like that. I probably misremembered it, but I remember the Waterloo movie. He seemed a little too wooden for me, but I don't know. I saw it only once a long time ago. Distracting like Colin Farrell and Alexander. Absolutely, they should cast somebody else. I don't like him in anything. Actually, the thing he was the best in that I've seen him in is in Horrible Bosses as a sleaze bucket. He did that pretty well. Yeah, I didn't think Angelina was that bad in Alexander, and I'm not a fan of hers. But I just like, okay, at least she tried to do an accent. You know, at least she tried to do something. And she looks Greekish. You know, I think that kind of worked. It worked better than him as Alexander. How many versions of Alexander are there? There's at least four. And I've seen the movie, I want to say 3 times, once in each of the versions. There's the first one version, which is, kind of like the gay porn one. And then the other one's just kind of omitted that. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. It doesn't offend me if that's kind of like what happened, but I only saw that one time. Nothing was as worse as when I was a kid. I'm pretty sure I was 21 because there was alcohol at this party. Although that wouldn't have kept me from drinking. I don't know. I was somewhere between 18 and 22. And we had this party where they showed, oh my God, what's that movie with Caligula? And I'm like, what the, and it's, yeah, that was a shocking movie. Probably if I watched it now, I'd be like, really? This is what I was worried about? But I was like, young. That guy always plays an asshole. Malcolm McDowell, always. Always. Just like Malcolm McDowell's in it. Yep, he's an asshole. Very graphic. Yeah, I kind of want to see it again because just to see what was so shocking back then. Maybe it wouldn't be, I'm sure it wouldn't be as shocking now as it was back. Actually, one of the things that was really shocking that I remember was there was this scene, and I'm sure it was super hokey and over the top, where they buried these people up to their neck in this pit, and for entertainment, they had like this machine that went around and like chopped everybody's heads off like a lawnmower. And beheading has always bothered me a lot. I think it's a very sick way to kill people when you decapitate them. When you, not only are they dead, but they're in pieces. They're not all together. I think that something about that I find really, really bothers me to my core. That's why, something like a plane crash, anything like that, just really, it's got to be a really bad way to go, psychologically. And that's the thing that reminds me of that one scene where, and I probably would watch it now and be like, really? This is what I was like. Last Halloween, right? I'm the old Halloween movie from 1978 or 1979. I saw it as a kid when I was like 10 years old. I didn't see it in a movie theater, but I saw it at somebody's house, and I wasn't supposed to watch, rated R movie, and I watched it, and it kind of, I remember it scarring me that one night I watched. I couldn't go to sleep, and I watched it again for the second time ever last year during Halloween, and I was like, really? This bullshit? This is the bullshit I was worried about? Because you grow as an adult, you get desensitized to things. You're not worried about, I don't know. You had read the trilogy of novels that Alexander was based on. Farrell did not match any vision of Alexander in the movies. Yeah. Oh, we're talking about Alexander the Great. Nordic's not here. Nordic is, he's Alexander the Great's biggest fanboy. Since we're talking about Alexander the Great, who's the better general, Alexander the Great or Hannibal? I'm just saying, And I don't even like Carthaginians. Okay, I think we're done with everything of this. We're gonna flip this over. Yep. And we're gonna take this one, flip it back over, and work on the other side. Oh, how are they both painted? Oh, it already flipped it. Oh, I see. I see what I did there. I'm outsmarting myself. Which sometimes isn't that big of an accomplishment. Yeah, the problem is Alexander. The biggest problem with Alexander is it doesn't focus on anything war gamers want to see. We want to see more battle scenes. We want to see shit in color, in action, doing the stuff that we do on the tabletop. That's what I want to do. When I want to see a World War II movie, that's what I want to see. I want to see equipment in color, in action, doing tactical stuff. That's what I go to see a World War II movie about. I don't give a shit about a storyline. I don't give a shit about a love scene. I don't care. There's other movies that do that. I want to see, Panzers running around in full color doing panzery shit, or whatever, or that's what I go to the movies to see war movies for. I want to see the gear in action doing its stuff. And if that part's not represented correctly, I'm like, well, I don't give a crap about anything else. I want to see a movie that I want to see some historical movie that's going to motivate me to read more about the history that I just saw a glimpse of. If it doesn't do that, it's just not my. It didn't do it for me. Customers in the store. That's right. Go get them. Go hound them. Open on Sundays. Good. I never understood businesses that weren't open on Sundays. If I owned my own business, I would be closed on Monday and Tuesday. Oh shit, I'd have Mitch's schedule. Oh, 'cause that's when people, I mean, unless you live in a place where that's not what the majority of people are, but I mean, when I worked a part-time job, I worked the weekends. I want to be done with this part. I want to put some decals down. And what's really going to bring this thing to life is the weathering. Tie it all into the base it's sitting on. When you get round to the desert, we'll be doing Commonwealth versus Italians. Yeah, I can't wait to do Italians and do them properly. Yeah, the problem is I have a scenario book that I think I'm going to start working on the desert stuff. The problem is the vehicles that are in it aren't available, readily available at an affordable price. So I need A13 Mark IVs. And A13 Mark IVs are in 1/72nd scale are only available as an S model, and then you have to buy a conversion kit, which costs about $16 a piece just for the conversion kit alone. I don't mind doing the work to convert them. I just don't want to spend that kind of money on that. At this time, I don't need to bad enough. It's not like I have to do that. Or 3D printing them. And the 3D printing ones, just the shipping is brutal. So, will I get them eventually? Eventually. It's just not a priority. Or I could do Matildas, but the Matildas is the same problem, is that they're either available 3D printing. The S model ones I can't use because apparently those are only used for the Soviets. Got sent to the Soviets. I don't know exactly I haven't done a deep dive on the Matilda to find out which one it is, but I am a Matilda tank fan. But I have to track down the old Eschi or the Italeri kit, and it's like $25 a piece, which I would have picked them up if Noble Knight had them in stock. I mean, that's the only reason I got all these vehicles is because I was using a credit. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got them. It's not like I don't have anything to work on. But I do want to do deserts because I love my desert basing. And it's going to look really good with the desert basing. But the eye ties are pretty inexpensive. Of course, there's the M1139s. Those are a 3D printed thing. But yeah, I'm going to do eye ties as well. But I don't have any white metal infantry for the desert. None. But I'm sure I would do but I do want to do the desert. Because it's just, I really like the desert. And actually, the desert vehicles I care the least about are Africa Corps vehicles. Because mine will end up being gray and then just dry brush the shit out of them and they look, dusty. I don't like the Africa Corps already pre-painted in a desert color. There's something about it just doesn't sit right with me. But the Africa Corps tended to use these really big turret numbers that would go over like vision slots and stuff. It just looks all disjointed. So I'm not a fan of the Africa Corps per se. But I do have a Panzer 1 that's built that I haven't painted yet. So I could technically do it for Africa, but I don't need to do things for scenarios necessarily. I'm just kind of modeling, and I know that at some point these could get used in a game. They're being based like they are for a game, but I'm enjoying doing them as it is. So it's possible that I would do just a one-off. But they do make, S model does make some Crusaders. Unfortunately, the Crusaders they make have the hatches closed. Which I don't need the hatches open on every vehicle, but I like them on some vehicles because it shows the scale of the vehicle when you can put a figure in there. There's a humanity and a tie-in if you have at least one vehicle in 4 or something like that, at least with a hatch open and a figure in it. Even though in reality whether it's crew exposed or not is really not determined by whether it has an actual figure present. Honeys, man. I love me some honeys. Wait, that didn't sound right. M3 honeys. They did have Valentines. I didn't pick them up. I don't want my first desert tank to be a Valentine. They didn't come out until much later, and I'm not a Valentine fan. But that's one of those things that, if you have something and you paint it for something and it's wrong, you can deal with it. But if you know going in that it's the wrong thing, I have a hard time jumping on board. Like the S model makes those, they do make A13s, but it's not the right mark for the desert. If I wouldn't have looked into it and I didn't know, and I would have had made them, and I made them for the desert, I would have been like, well, I already painted them and they look good, but even though they're the wrong one. But if I know going in that it's the wrong one, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Armor fast, do basic Crusader 2 with separate hatches. Okay. Did it look okay? Yeah, just my scenario book has no Crusaders. It's all like the very early 1941. So that's really the period that I want to do, like almost like pre-Crusaders. But Crusader is one of my favorite looking tanks. I just really like how they look. I don't care if they broke down a lot. I don't give a shit about that. I got Panthers, and they caught fire all the time, Okay, we need to take a potty break. But before we do that, I'm going to put some clear coat on the spots that are going to get the decals. And I like to use this stuff, Pledge Floor Care. And I like it because it's water-based, and I can brush it on. I don't have to spray the entire frickin' vehicle. Especially when it's a very small portion of the vehicle, it's going to get this. So let's get a brush that hasn't been abused. Benjamin Christensen. Gotta love painting Desert War armies, working on an Indian regiment at the moment with some British armored support. You are using Indian figures for the desert? Certainly have some infantry tanks or whatever along with them. I didn't know this about the British, as they were the only army at the start of the Second World War that was fully mechanized. I didn't know that. And it's probably for multiple factors. One of the factors, I'm sure, I don't know if I'm gonna put the numbers down here, over here. So I'm gonna clear coat both areas. And this stuff is self-leveling, but there's no reason to not put it leveled already. And it might be a couple reasons. One of them is if your army is not massive, it's probably easier to mechanize the whole army if it doesn't consist of millions and millions and millions of people. Just a guess. But I didn't know that. Okay. I don't know where I'm going to put the Balkan Kreuzes, or if I may have to just hand paint them myself. But on the off chance that I'm not, that one could go there. Two spots here on the back potentially. This one's definitely going to have one in the back there. Also the same spot here. And if we do put one on the side, I'll have to hand paint that one because there's not enough space for it. I don't think I can get a little one in there. No. I can hand paint one in there, but not to get the actual decal. Sometimes it's easier just to paint something than sit there and fight with it. All right. We'll knock that out. Let me go to a little boys' room, get some more fluids, and I'll be right back in a few minutes. put this away. And one thing I forgot to do is to paint the rusty trombones, also known as the mufflers. So let's go ahead and do that. That'll be about the right amount of time to wait until I can go and mess with put the decals on those wet spots. Stuff dries pretty quick. And I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but I do put the little bit of gloss coat down and haven't had a problem with it. We'll get some black over here. And the color that I like to use as a base for the rusting is, where is it? I know what it looks like. I just don't know what it's called. It's this one right here. Orange brown. And we'll use the same brush. It's been, oh, this is the one I use for that. Okay, let's use this one. It's the same one I use for the road wheels and stuff. That's not too large. All right, we're gonna need 1 drop of Flow Aid. Makes things work so much better. And get our darkest color going and paint this thing overall. Sometimes I just don't add enough actual paint. And I'm like, I gotta add a little bit more substance to it. These things rust in no time. Get extremely hot, the paint peels off of it, and then it's not protected against the elements. It just turns into a rust bucket. The hell is that? Like a feather. A flying feather. I only found out about fully mechanized British Army recently myself. That's why the battle dress jacket was so short. Interesting. Yeah. I actually have some troops that have apparently the BEF uniform as opposed to the 1944 one. Well, when I get around to painting British, we're probably going to use some of the guys incorrectly, but I think I'll be able to live with that. I'll be able to live with that. I honestly haven't looked into it. I've only painted 4 British figures at all, and I really liked how they turned out, but four chaps. You know, when I got this order, I was going to order those Churchills. I decided not to. I was going to order some Churchills and some M4A2s, some Sherman 3s. And I'm like, I'm just going to end up going down a rabbit hole. Go down a rabbit hole of like, now I got to get decals for some of the units. You know, because the stuff that was on the plates are very detailed British units. I'm like, I don't want to hand paint those. And for some reason, I'm okay not painting the German ones, but the British ones, I feel like I have to do. I don't know, because the German stuff I'm working two fronts on them, so I don't want to make these for, some division that was never in Italy or something like that. Be nice to do some British vehicles that aren't the Desert Rats. Desert Rat stuff can be for North Africa, but I know they were in Italy as well, but for a little bit. But do first armored with those rhinos or something, or the fist of the sixth armored. Unfortunately, the infantry tank brigade decals, a lot of them are. A lot of the unit and the markings are just dumb looking. With those boring rhomboids and diamonds and stuff like that. But a couple of them are okay with a kiwi bird and things like that. But got to be the right unit, or it doesn't really solve that. Just doing creative stuff, and they don't go with a unit that I might use them as. Well, the fact that all British units are motorized makes the British trucks that much more useful. You can use them in all kinds of different applications. I don't think I've ever seen British units with Lend-Lease trucks. They always manage to have, the Canadian ones or the homegrown ones. Never saw them using GMCs or. Oh, the Canadians may be GMC products, but or Fords or something like that. But I meant the U.S. deuce and a halves. They had enough of their own trucks to go around. And of course, this is going to get weather on top of it a little bit, so there's no point in having this look perfect right here. We're going to end up having a little bit of a. It's going to be changed a little bit by the weathering. And yesterday felt like Sunday all day long. Nice to know it wasn't. Okay, we need to do the in-between shade here between these two. I still find it really strange that the British used 76 millimeter armed M4A1s in Italy when they had the 17 pounder, but they used some 17 pounders in Italy, but mainly it was a Northwest Europe type of thing. It's just strange for them using a 76 millimeter gun when they had the 17 pounder. But all these ranges are like point blank. I mean, you're talking about an inch is 2 meters. So what you see is what you get. So all these vehicles are going to have basically their maximum penetration. Anywhere on the board, they're going to exhibit their maximum penetration. Because you're at point blank range. That tends to even things up a little bit more than just like, oh, you're being shelled by a Pac 43 at long range. There were some Fireflies using Lily as well as 76s, looks like from December 44 onwards. Yeah, it's really, really late. I don't know that there was any, I don't know that I've seen any 76 millimeter armed Shermans in Northwest Europe. I'm not saying it didn't happen, I don't think I've ever seen it. I actually have two Fireflies. One of them I bought from somebody to do a refurb, and one of them I had. I have a Britannia Firefly, which is complete. I'm going to need to refurbish it. And it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look equivalent to the stuff I'm doing now. And I went and ordered the Humbrol paint. And supposedly back in the day, that was the most accurate color that they had. So I ordered the Humbrol enamel paint for the Firefly. Painted one vehicle and the paint dried up on me. But yeah, I'm not buying an enamel-based paint. I can make do with all the other options that we have now with 8K and so forth whenever we get around to those vehicles. But the Italian ones used a different color. They didn't use that bronze green. They used a khaki color. Okay, that part's done. Let's get a little bit of water, a container for it, and let's decal up. And it helps if I turn this back on, doesn't it? No, just forget everything I said. I was saying that I like the 400-digit numbers for the Panzer companies that have Mark 4s. 4s and 8s. I'm used to that being that case in North Africa. So I know I've seen 300 series tank companies decals with them for the Mark 4s, but I prefer using the 4s and the 8s generally, especially since the Panzer 3s have 300 series ones. So, and I already have one Panzer 4 that has a 400 series. So this is 423, second platoon. So first platoon, 411 and 413. 411 is going to be the one that has the commander's hatch open. That way you can ask him what the 411 is on something. Just put it underneath that's my preferred location, is underneath the division block. I don't know if this microset makes that much of a difference, but I use it anyways. I was going to use a larger decal for the back, but it's in a different style number. I know it's going to bug the hell out of me, so I figured, well, we better not do that. Oh, I am going to need paper towels, unless there's a used one here. There is. Perfect. Just need a tiny little bit to blot this. Get that excess material off. Excess liquid. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Oh, don't bend over on me. I don't care if I gotta run. I have to rotate this thing around. It doesn't bother me. I just don't want this thing to fall to pieces. In the middle of reading Brothers in Arms by James Holland. That's on my Audible list. Story of Sherwood Rangers Tank Regiment D-Day. I'm really enjoying it. I highly recommend it. Yep, it's on my Audible reading list for sure. I wish there was more stuff like that. Wish there was more tactical stuff like that. Sherwood Rangers. What tank division are they a part of? 7th or the 11th or the 79th? I guess it could be one of them. I guess it could be the Guards as well. Come on, move, damn it. I need you to move down just a little bit, because I like how it looks on the other one a little bit more. If I can't move it, I can't move it. Alright, we're going to leave it be. It's not that noticeable. It's almost the same location. I just happen to like how it looks like that one better. I won't put it all the way down, but just to kind of give an idea of what we're looking like here. I wish the number on the back of the turret was a little bit bigger, but the other ones are really big and it's a different style number. I'd rather not have it. And even though they did do that sometimes, it just doesn't look right to me. Okay, and the other one's 414. 413, sorry. You down with 413? Yeah, you know me. I also have another book that's on my Audible list. Is like tank destroyers or whatever, the history, some tank destroyer battalion in the U.S. Army or something. Okay, so here's the two vehicles. Of course, we still have some stuff to do to them. It's not like, okay, have fun. Have fun killing Bolsheviks. And they still don't look great on the video there, but you should end up looking like this by the time we're done. So let them dry a little bit before we dry brush anything on them. You believe they're part of 8th Armored Brigade and were moved around supporting units, but they came ashore with the 50th Northumbrian Division on D-Day. Okay, that's the double T symbol there on a patch. That's what the British figures I have actually have a little square patch on the 20mm figure that's right here on the shoulder, and I guess that's what they're supposed to be. The double T. Oh, Balkenkreuzes. Duh. See them with these other ones. I want to get the Skytrex ones that I got a long time ago and I never did anything with them because they showed up too late. Maybe they're in here all along. Just got to give them a second look. Here they are. I think I'm going to be able to get. Let's cut out 2 for each, but let's start off with 2. I can hand paint these, but it's a pain in the ass. So we're going to put one here, and we're going to put one here in the back. Let me take a look at something in just a moment. I don't like the decal being placed over any equipment or anything. It just doesn't look, it looks sloppy. Looks really, really sloppy. See if these have percolated yet. Seems to always be on this side of the tank. And the only reason I didn't do the outline ones on here is I got a lot more of these black ones. Oh shit, I probably should have cut these things down. The edges, oh well. God bless it. Why do I insist on putting things here where my elbow goes? Now, I'm going to see if it fits in here. If not, we'll use this one for the back plate on the other tank and cut another one down. It's going to fit here. Rather nicely, actually. I can't stand it being painted over other stuff. It just looks wrong. And if this had been molded correctly, I could probably fit another one in there. So just won't have a Balkenkreuz on that back side, on this side. And I'm not a big fan of doing things exactly the same. But I think I will in this case. I was trying to see if one of them had the cross on the other side, but I'm sure there's probably examples of it. Let me take another little gander right quick and see if I see an example of that. I don't want to dig out Panzer colors or none of that stuff. That just takes too long to take a look at that. It's not that critical. I just want to see that there's other examples of it before I go and make an executive decision based on whim. Come on. It's like they're always on the left side. always. Or at least all these examples. Okay. Now there's some that have them farther down, but they're too covered up by the exhaust and stuff. They get extra nasty down there, so. Okay, it's releasing. Okay. I mean, they are the same. They are the same platoon and the same company. So maybe when they gave them markings, they were all in cahoots with each other. Okay, so we have the wooden handles and stuff to paint on the tools. I like to do those after the weathering. And same thing with adding the metallic type properties to this. Actually, you know, one thing we can do, we can go ahead and drop the Nuln oil where it needs to go. As soon as I can find it. Looking for Nuln oil without glasses is probably not a good idea. It's gonna be really difficult to find it. There it is. The oil of Nuln. Games Workshop in their make-believe crap. They're fluffathon. Oh, really? You're going to be a dick about it? I think there's a way to actually prop these open, and I don't remember how it is. I'm going to drop the wash in these crevices. Gives the impression that there's something darker down in there. You guys seeing that? Yeah. have this pushed up against the hull yet. It's not scraping anything as I'm rotating it around. Interesting, what's going on here? I may touch this afterwards, that I'm done with the dry brushing. Let's find out where the figure is. It's going to be in here. I think I didn't put my German tank commanders too far away, I don't think. Yeah, here they are. Let's rotate this in a more normal layout. And one of these figures I really like, but he's got a snowsuit on. We're not doing snow armor for this one. And that's it's got an outstretched arm. Where is he? This guy right here. This is a great figure. This is a War Games Foundry guy. Pretty cool figure, but he's got a snowsuit on. And I'm not doing a snow Panzer on this one. So I'm thinking it's going to be this guy. Because I don't want him to have a little visor. I want him to have a little side cap type thing. This guy's also not bad, except I think he has issues with him rotating in place. Oh, I know what it is. He's not showing enough of the. You can see right into where he is. This guy's actually pretty good as well. I think I'm going to go with this fellow. Yeah. That's what we're going to use as a commander. So we can go ahead and glue him to a penny. You can paint him individually. Or, alternatively, we can use this pizza chip guy. That doesn't want to sit up and is kind of lame looking. So yeah, we're going to use this guy. We're going to use this fellow here. Mold line right through the face, unfortunately. to stand up, right? Actually, you know what? I don't have to glue him to anything. So I can just put him on a stickum. And we paint him on there. Man, I'm going through a lot of liquids. I gotta go to the bathroom again. I don't have to, I choose to. Right back. Maybe I'll remember to turn the microphone on when I get back. Might as well do the two bases for these guys too. Huh. The problem with magnetic bottom is you pick up things along the way. Yeah, let's make sure that this fits okay on that footprint. It does. And I don't like a big amount of overhang. And normally I don't do this. I usually get the original and put it on there. Well, I will do it in this case. People feel really strongly about basing or not basing vehicles. I'm honestly pretty surprised, but I remember back when I used to do World War II, people were really opinionated about shit. Like, You can be opinionated, but don't try to freaking convert folks. Leave people alone. Okay. Magnet shooting. I don't want it to go all the way up to the edge. Wish I had a way to precisely round those things perfectly, but it's not that big of a deal. I see some people that just cut it like at 45 degrees, and I prefer the corners being a little rounded. Just looks like more like a plain piece. I also don't like the stand being a lot bigger than the footprint of the vehicle. I do like it so it's all the way around, so you get to see the environment that the vehicle is in. Helps tie it all together. Let's get the goop out, which we're very low on. tool. I did this on the T-34s, never finished them. I guess if I don't do them soon, it's gonna get so freaking hard to cut into this. It starts off kind of like a soft cookie, and then eventually turns into like cement. But I got on this tear finishing these guys. You dry somewhere out of the way. Unlike paintbrushes, you don't want to leave this in here because this will rust, even though it's supposedly stainless. But you're better off leaving this Vallejo texture on your tools than leaving them in water, because this stuff will actually reactivate. You can put it in water and it'll come off. It doesn't come off super easy, but it's also not a nightmare. Okay. Dry Brushinsky. Now you're going to see some discoloration here on the front of the decal. That all goes away when you clear coat it. And there's no point in clear coating it now and then dry brush and then clear coating it again. And we have some things that are going to need to get painted, like this little stand for the jack. That's going to be wooden colored. So that type of stuff. But the rest of it, we can do it as we go. And I use the two colors that go in the basing. As soon as I find them. That was English uniform. That's not one of them. U.S. Field Drab and Iraqi Sand is the other one. That's the two shades, two colors that I dry brush on top of these. So let's get to it. always start with the running gear first, at least I do. Because if there's too much, it's on an area that it's going to get a lot of weathering anyways. And these are the same colors that are going to be in the base color on the stand. And I don't like the style that people do that they fill the side of the vehicle completely with dirt, almost like they airbrushed it brown. I'd like to still be able to tell this was a gray vehicle at some point. And this is just the first color of it there, as opposed to there. You got to leave room for the Iraqi sand to do its magic also. And of course the back, I'm excited to see what this thing looks like compared to how it started off. And the turret doesn't get a whole lot. Yeah, that is this one. There's other ways of doing this. This is just how I do it. It works for me. I'm happy with the results. Your mileage may vary. Yeah, that really changes after you spray paint and after you clear coat it. It changes it again. And that's what I would do if I do desert vehicles. I would just do that really, really heavily. Not with one color. You need to have multiple colors. Let's just do one all the way through so you can see the difference between weathered and not weathered. Let's just do that. And of course, you're still not going to get the true look because I don't have, I haven't clear coated it yet. And that changes the color a little bit. All right. I think let's go ahead and rinse this out, just so you have a more defined color difference. Still have some vestiges of that. Let's use the magic of the hand sanitizer to get even more out. It softens the bristles too. Make sure you drop it in water and neutralize it. This one you got to go really light with, or you end up with a really light colored tank. You know what? I'm just for good measure, I'm going to use another one. have to paint the little headlights. We do that stuff afterwards. Hit the edges so they pop. Now let me step away from this thing and take a look at it. And see how it's kind of looks the same as the Panzer III. Equivalent, as I like to say, to the Panzer III. I do want to add, ever so gently, so you can tell the difference between the two here. Pretty significant. And I didn't even dry brush that heavy. Of course, the colors you guys are seeing are not accurate. I don't know why this thing always defaults to non-accurate colors. My light is just way too bright. That's a little bit more. What you see is what you get there, kind of thing. It's still like very kickbacky. Anyhow, so there's one. Let's go ahead and rinse this a little bit. Where is that other brush that I said? No, let's not use that one right now. Here it is. And there's some pictures I've seen of tanks in Barbarossa that are just covered, just absolutely covered. The second half of the tank are just completely covered in dust. Not to mention, you know, when you get into the muddy season, but just the dust alone, just those July and August in the Ukraine type 1941 pictures are just oppressive dust everywhere. Decal is really resistant to getting dust on it. All right, same thing with the turret, but not so much. think. And now the other one. With the Iraqi sand. Just to be safe. I'm going to use one that's completely dry. They both behave the same. There we go. And it's going to change a little bit when it gets sprayed. We got some tools that we need to put on here. Where is that wood color that we were using? Beige brown. There she is. I guess I am going to need to. Yeah, pretty happy with them. Hell of an improvement over the Armor Fast models. I'm actually going to go ahead and stop now because I'm freaking starving. I didn't have a proper breakfast, so. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the Panzer IV trip. You know, lighting is really, really weird at this point. But you see that little shine there on this, on that turret. That'll go away when you clear coat it. But these guys are close to being done. And I think they'll look the part. But thanks for stopping by, folks, and we'll catch you.